Hey guys, my name's Katie. My last name starts with an M, so I got assigned Mary Richmond, and then I also chose my person to be Cesar Chavez. I wanted to do a male and a female, and so I picked all of the male names, put them on a piece of paper, put them in a bowl, and I just picked one, and so I picked Cesar Chavez. So I just want to say that I had a lot of fun doing this project just because I learned a lot about how different people can influence different social policies and how much of an impact different people can make. So it was really interesting to learn about that. So I'm gonna flip the camera and I'm gonna show you, I have a couple of posters that I made. So I will flip the camera and show you guys. Okay, so sorry it's kind of a weird angle. I had some trouble setting up the poster and my phone and still being able to use my notes, so we're just gonna roll with it. So we're gonna be starting with Mary Ellen Richmond. She was born in 1861 and she died in 1928. She was known to be the mother of social casework, and her four characteristics that she was known for was social work enthusiast, a researcher, a leader, and an author. I think that her two main characteristics that really make her the most important characteristics was she was a leader and an author, just because she impacted social casework greatly, and she also was very influential in the educational aspect of social casework. So let's just start with the little facts about her. So speaking of the book, she wrote the famous book called Social Diagnosis, and it was published in 1917. It discussed principles that should be at the center for any work, which are still discussed today. I think what she means by the center for any work, that she introduced new ways of learning and teaching and doing things that are important in all aspects, anywhere, not just social casework. So I think that was really important. Moving on to, she introduced a new way of social work. She was the director of the charity department of the Russell Sage Foundation in New York from 1909 until she died. This foundation supported social science research. So, like I said, she was really influential when it came to the educational aspect of it all, just because she was really dedicated to making a difference. She had little interest in women's rights, and instead she wanted to systematize good works. Hopefully I said that word right. This really stood out to me because a lot of women back then who wanted to make a difference, their main focus, or a big focus of theirs, was women's rights. So I think that the way that she wasn't really focused on women's rights and instead she wanted to do something else impactful really stood out to me. And I thought that was really cool. She also believed in charity, which is really great. She attempted to introduce religious and social science values to humanitarian ends. And I actually got this quote from the textbook, from our textbook in the class. Most of my information is all from the textbook. She also believed in the importance of social diagnosis. She established the first program of social work education, which led to a new development of a social work program. This was known as the New York School of Philanthropy, and it was established in 1910, and it later became the Columbia University School of Social Work. This later led to a development of a different kind of social work program at the University of Chicago, which emphasized on policy and administration. This became the School of Social Service Administration. She also searched for causes of poverty and social exclusion. This had to do with the interaction between an individual and their environment. And lastly, she gave social work clients a voice for the first time. And I just thought that was really cool and influential, just because I feel like that's really important. So the three main takeaways for Mary Ellen Richmond would be: she believed in helping the poor, which we have recently been discussing a lot about in class, especially our last homework assignment. So I think that was really cool to see that she was really dedicated to helping the poor and helping out with charity. She also introduced a new way of social work, and she established the first program for social work education. So now we're gonna move on to Cesar Chavez. So Cesar Chavez, he was born in 1927 and he died in 1993. Three main characteristics that really stood out for him was he was an American labor leader, he was a community organizer, and he was a Latino American civil rights activist. He co-founded the National Farm Workers Association with Dolores Huerta. Hopefully I am pronouncing that name correctly. This actually later became the United Farm Workers Union. It started off to a really rough start because most of their workers had been poor for generations and didn't have faith in their process. They also worked to propose changes to the California Bracero program, and hopefully I'm saying that right too. This program brought workers from Mexico to work in the fields during harvest season, and Cesar Chavez really saw a problem with that. He didn't like it and he wanted to do something about it. He also fought for the rights of farm workers, and he advocated for better working conditions. He fought to convince workers that they could have better working conditions. By 1970, Chavez finally organized over 50,000 dues-paying members, so obviously all of his hard work was starting to pay off. He was a leader of protest movements, and he was actually later jailed for protests that caused a lot of damage. From 1965 to the 1990s. I know that a lot of his protests, or at least some of them, kind of ended up in violence. Some people were shot. I think 2 people were killed. After being jailed, Chavez continued his commitment to nonviolent protests. So even though that his protests sometimes ended up in violence, he was really a firm believer on nonviolence. In 1988, Chavez called the attention to farm families affected by dangerous pesticides used on various crops in the fields, and later Chavez died in his sleep. So he died doing what he loved, helping people, helping farm families, and really trying to make a difference in the farm industry. What's really cool is in 1994, President Clinton awarded the Medal of Freedom to Chavez after his death. This medal was known to be America's highest civilian honor, and President Clinton also recognized Chavez for overcoming challenges while still pursuing his mission with dignity and a commitment to nonviolence. And lastly, this quote was from President Clinton, and it was about Cesar Chavez, and I just thought it was really cool. Cesar Chavez rose to a position of leadership because of his determination in the face of major opposition, his courage to keep fighting for the rights of workers, and his unwavering belief that social justice should be extended to everyone. So I just really thought that was a cool quote to end on, just because it kind of backs up Cesar Chavez, and it shows how much of a really influential hero he was. So our 3 main takeaways would be Chavez improved the lives of farm workers and farm families. Chavez was awarded the Medal of Freedom for his outstanding bravery, hard work, and dedication. And lastly, Chavez was a humble leader and stood up for his beliefs while maintaining nonviolence. I think it was really cool that Cesar Chavez and Mary Ellen Richmond both really wanted to make a difference, and especially with low-income families or charities or just the poor population in general. I really wanted to talk about that, just because recently in class we've been talking about poverty and low-income families and policies that help the low income and stuff like that. So I just really thought these 2 people made a really good impact and a really strong impact on society. So that is it for my presentation. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to hear your comments.